Hi everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create. Today I'm going to go ahead and finish up the 49 and Market project that I started earlier this week. The project is featuring the new pre-made album by 49 and Market, and it is 6 1/4 by 8 1/4, 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. So I've got all the pages modified, and we did that in the last video, and today I'm going to focus on getting all the designer layers in and then coming back in the very end and finishing or embellishing the covers. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So again, we're using the Bold and Beautiful collection from 49 and Market, leveraging their pre-made mini album, which is brand new this year. In the end, I'm going to wind up embellishing the front with some of the 49 and Market flowers that they carry. And of course, these are just some of the tools that I'll be using today to complete the album. Okay, so last night I went offline and prepared, trimmed, inked the edges of my papers. So this should go relatively fast. So this is the paper that I've selected to go on the front inside cover and the back inside cover. And then the excess strip from each one of these pages, I trimmed down to fit as a pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with laying that down. I really like the papers. They're very beautiful. The quality and density of the paper is just remarkable. This is very, very suitable for multimedia projects. And I think that's kind of their core market. So many album makers is kind of a new space for them, hence this new album. But the paper is very thick, very dense. It's lovely to work with. I wouldn't really recommend scoring it because it's so thick, although I did do some test runs on it to see if it would crack, and it actually held up pretty well. But it is very thick, so I really wouldn't recommend scoring it and folding it. I don't think it'll behave as well as you'd like over time. But it's beautiful for laying down and matting, like so. So one of the things that I noticed when I was laying down the paper and trimming everything down to size last night is there are some of the papers are rather pale. So I did make sure that I inked all my edges, and I don't normally do this, but I actually brought the ink in a little bit so that you could see more contrast between the paper and the album itself. Now, another way around that would be to mat each one of these papers with, you know, a nice dark, rich matte. And what do I mean by that? I'm just going to use this as an example. Just putting, you know, like a nice dark matte, either dark brown, even this pink might work. But I went ahead, I wanted to use just 49 and Market products in this sample. So I'm just, I want to make sure I got that right side up. Yeah, so I'm just gluing it directly down to the book. And then the other thing that I did that's a little different from my normal design style is I have an 1/8 inch border around each one of the designer pieces. Normally I do a 1/16 inch, but I really wanted the white to pop out against that inked edge. So I'm going to show a little bit more white. And when I go to the back page, I'll show you what I mean. So this is a little bit bigger border than I normally work with. So originally I had planned it to be a 1/16 of an inch, and it's very tight. And normally with black, that's what I like. But I just didn't think it showed off enough of the paper. So I'm backing it off, and I like that contrast a little bit better. So that's what I mean when I have the 1/16 or 1/8 inch matte border. So how do I achieve that? Well, you measure the page, and then you take a 1/4 inch off height and width, and then when you center it, you'll have an 1/8 inch border. And that makes it easier for trimming everything down, because everything was done on the 1/4 inch, which is a lot easier to see than the 1/16 inch or the 1/8 inch. Okay. Now this is directional, so I need to make sure that, yeah, my numbers are going in the right direction. And I've got some shadows that I'm dealing with today. It is kind of a rainy day here in San Diego, so I don't have a lot of sunshine this morning to work with. So I apologize, and I'm hoping that there's enough contrast between the papers and the book for you guys to see what I'm doing. And I think there is. Okay, so that's in. So that's the front and back. So I've held off on doing, I did a walkthrough on this some time ago, and it's taken me a while to get to the album. And part of that is because the sample that they gave us at the show was really in advance of when they would have these available for production. We do have a limited number of these in our shop right now, and we're doing what I would consider a test run. So if you're interested, scoot on over to our website, www.scrapandcreate.com, because like I said, we have a limited number, and we're looking to get some feedback on the album itself to see if this is going to be a staple that we like to carry. One of the reasons I like this over some of the Graphic 45 albums is the Graphic 45 albums, they just put so many pages in them. And the other thing I don't like is they don't give you any extra paper to work with in terms of adding tags or flaps to your album. So you get what's in the album and that's it. The way that this was designed with this nice large flap, you wind up, you know, with basically another sheet of paper for every page insert. So that goes a long way to helping you be able to create your own unique designs and not having it just look like a out-of-the-box stock album. So, and for the black albums, with Graphic 45, I don't think it's a problem, but for the cream and cardstock, trying to match those is a real challenge. Which we've given them feedback on before, but I think they appeal to people who are who want to do a mini album but aren't necessarily what I consider a mini album makers, like myself and a lot of you that watch our tutorials. You like to do the whole construction process yourself. Okay, so now you can see there's a nice big border. Just burnishing extra right here because that's where the magnet is. So the other thing I just determined, and I talked about this in the last video, is that I didn't get enough glue in here, so I'm going to go back and add some, is the paper, because of the thickness of the paper and the thickness of the album, you really have to use, when you're going to use magnets to keep things closed, you're going to have to add a few extras. And you need to be liberal with the glue because this is a very stiff paper. Okay, so now I've got some decisions to make, and I think I had originally designed it to go down this way. Actually, that's upside down. This way. I'm going to scoot everything over because I see I'm in a shadow. There we go. There, so it's going to go in like this, and this is just trimmed down to fit, and then I split it in half so it's kind of a continuous design. Okay, I'm going to be careful to get a little more glue on this one all the way to the edge. Because it's so rigid, it can pull back up from the paper. So make sure you've got glue all the way to the edge, and then be patient when you're laying it down and hold it in place for a minute. The other way to get around that is to tape everything. Which I don't mind doing, but for the purpose of videos, I like to use the glue. It does hold up. I don't have any issues with that at all, but it's a lot faster. So I can get these productions done a little bit sooner, and it's not so boring to watch me lay down tape. Okay, that went in beautifully. So just being careful to get glue all the way to the edge, I think, is going to solve all my problems. I'm looking forward to working on the cover. I've got these embellishments that come with the 8x8 pack, these die cuts that are just gorgeous. I can't wait to work with them. And then also not graphic 45, 49 and Market is, you know, they have an abundance of flowers to choose from. So that coordinate with this collection. So I'm anxious to use those as well. You know what? Did I do that? Okay. I thought I forgot to pull the tape up on the magnet, but it's actually on the reverse side, so I'm okay. And I just realized I did something wrong, but that's okay. I'm going to recover this way. I actually meant to put this on the outside for the contrast, but I still like this. So I'm going to put this on the inside, and this is too much contrast, so I'm going to use the softer side. Which means I need to add a little ink, because the way I'd ink the edges, I'd come in on the blue side, not this side. So I'll do that really quick. And you'll see the difference. So there's what the edge looks like without the ink, and it kind of disappears. And that's why I'm adding a little bit of ink. And again, I don't normally come into the paper like this, but because we're using white, I think if we don't, it will disappear. There, now you can see much more depth. Okay, let's get this off. Trying to decide how I want to put this in, if I want to put it like this or like this. I kind of like this, the dark on top and the flower on the bottom. So, well, this is the other option I have. No, I like this. I like this better. So I'm talking about how heavy the paper is. So my guess is this designer paper has got to be close to 100 pounds. That's how dense it is. Where graphic claims to have 80 pound, but I think it's really a little lighter than that. It doesn't feel like 80 pound to me, but I bet this is 100 pound. It feels very thick, like almost like card, the stock that you use to make cards, 110. It feels very dense like that. So. And again, it's difficult to score. I think I'd worry about it cracking, and it does have a white core, so if it cracks, it'll be very obvious. Where when you're using solid cardstock, it's not so obvious because the core is the same color as the cardstock. So I would stick to just matting it, using it as mats. Sideways so you can better look. There. Much better. I don't think I got it where I want it yet. I'm kind of fussing a little because I'm not used to, I'm actually not used to having such a large border. So my inclination is to keep pushing it to the edge. But then it won't be centered, right? So, okay. I'm just burnishing a little extra here because that's where my magnet is. So I want to make sure it's grabbing all that tape. I can say though, because the paper is so thick, you really don't see where the magnets are placed, which is nice. That is the end of page 1. Page 2 is super simple. It is just a flat piece of paper that's going to go in just like so. And then page 3 has some flaps on it. So because this is so simple, I'm likely to come back and do some embellishments. But for now, it's just going to be a simple cover for this page. And when I add my embellishments, I might come back and add pockets to some of the simple pages. One of my hesitations for adding pockets is I don't have any more of this paper to create a tag. So I still might create a tag. It just won't be cardstock backed. We'll see after I get it done. I will have enough paper left over to do tags if I so desire. It's directional, so that is the bottom. There's the top. A little excess glue. Okay, lovely. It's it feels very weighty. It feels luxurious because it's so weighty. All right, so that was fast. So now we're on to page 3. Yeah. Ooh. So here's the piece of paper that I selected for the base here. And I like the way the flowers pop out underneath this flap. One of the things I noticed when I was working with this album is you got to be careful because white picks up everything. So before I actually got started laying everything down, just from handling, I had to go back over the album with an eraser, and I had just, you know, picked various things up off my craft mat. And then toward the end, I actually started laying down paper towels to work on. So I'm not used to having to deal with all that because black is so forgiving and covers a multitude of sins. White, not so much. It's beautiful in the end, but not very forgiving. If you click the More button, you will find the link to our shop. In addition to that, you'll find the link, an individual link for each one of the items that I'm using in this project. So it'll take you, if you don't want to browse the shop, it'll take you right to the products that we used in this project. So it'll have the album, this pack of paper, and any of the flowers that I'm using. And then I'm also using one of the 49 and Market, oops. They make these chipboard cutout things. So this is something that I'm going to probably use on the cover as well. And there'll be a link to this product as well. We have a couple of these in our shop and I really like working with them. They add a lot of dimension to the cover. They can be used inside as well because they are relatively flat. So now I've got some decisions to make. That. And I think I like this slight contrast because I will add some embellishments. So just to recap, this book comes with 6 self-mounting, because they're hinge, waterfall hinge style pages attached to it. I didn't like the way it was coming into the cover page, so I actually removed one of these pages using a spatula, and I have a total of 5 pages that I'm decorating right now. And you can remove the pages like I did, and that also gave me an extra page to work with, which is how I got this, how I got some of the flaps in on some of the other pages. You do have to be careful. You do need a spatula because they did adhere the pages with glue, not with tape, so you can't use undo. You have to lift it. And then what I did was took a 1/2 inch off of each one of these pages, and I used one of those 1/2 inches to go back over where it had left a rough mark on the in the gusset area. So you can easily cover it back up. Right. And that's just for your information for anybody who didn't watch the first video. One of the things I like about inking the inside edge and coming up over the paper is when I go to lay it down, I can tell which side I was planning. Where with graphic, when I just knock off the white edge, I have to go back and forth, try to remember which way did I plan that. So that's kind of a nice benefit, side benefit, an unplanned benefit. All right. I do notice though that I probably would have inset my magnets a little more because I'm not used to having such a large border. I'm having a little trouble. It is covered, but I'm having a little trouble getting the bubble out. So just FYI, for your planning purposes, you may want to consider that. And before I lay down my next piece of paper, I'm actually going to look at that a little more closely to make sure. And here we are on to page 4 to make sure it does cover, and we'll lay down flat. And this one, it looks like I did plan it far enough inside. Okay, we're going to lay down the main mat first, which is this simple green mat. And I like all the colors in this collection. It's really pretty. Really pretty. So again, this is 8 collection sheets, and there's 2 each. They're double-sided. So it's very, very pretty. So you actually wind up with 2, 4, 6, 8, so many different designs. So these are the laser cut pieces, and then these are all your designer sheets. So it's really quite pretty. So there's plenty of patterns to work with without feeling like you're repeating, but enough of each sheet that you can cover 2 pages if you want to, so that when you open up side by side, you've got coordinating papers or matching papers. For this project, because essentially each page is doubled in size because of the large flap, it's taking 2 packages to completely cover everything. I will have some remaining sheets of paper, and when I'm done, I'll actually go over how many sheets of paper are remaining. You could get by with 1, but you would definitely have to use some coordinating colored cardstock to complete the project. There is not enough designer paper to cover every page and every flap in 1 pack. I think I did it this way, yeah. So this is going, I'm going to put it in this way. Yeah, perfect. So I think we're on page 4. Yeah, I think this is page 5. So we're about halfway done with the interior. So if you do decide to purchase the album, we're very interested in getting feedback on how you felt about working with it. If you'd buy another one, just give us any feedback that you can, the quality, the size, and we will take that into consideration when determining whether or not we're going to carry this as sort of a staple. And then also, if you've got any good feedback to give to the manufacturer, we will make sure they get that as well. And my feedback to them was, make sure you have a 1/2 inch gusset between the front and back cover, not just the back cover. So either make the spine wider or take out 1 page. And I'm okay with either one, although I tend to be somebody who likes symmetry, so 5 pages felt weird to me instead of 6 or 4. So I think I've trimmed it, yeah. So I laid the paper down and then I split it in half. So I'm just making sure that when you look at the design, it's continuous across. And this is a nice big pocket. And I accomplished that by cutting the flap off and then just gluing down trimming it down, gluing down 3 of the 4 sides. So that this is a pocket. Nice and crisp. Get that in okay? You know what? I'm not happy with that. I'm going to lift it before it dries and push it up. It was wasn't quite lined up with this mat. I'm probably going to have to freshen up my glue. It is, the other thing, it's very thick paper. It's very thirsty, so the glue sinks in pretty quickly. So it's not like when you have super flat paper where you've got a little more slide when you put your glue down. It grabs pretty good. Right. And then I'm going to use a little piece of paper to demonstrate, but this is our nice big pocket here. So in the end, I will have something popping out of this, but I don't know what at the moment. Okay, our next page, page 6. Very simple, flat page. Beautiful paper. And I'll add some embellishments to this later. Turn it to the side so I can get a better look at my edges here. I would, as I'm gluing, some of it's coming out the edges, so I'm just going back over with my fingernail to pick it up. But I would recommend, and I don't have it here handy, having a wet one next to you so that you're not carrying the glue on to the next page. Okay, so that is page 6. Now we're on to page 7. So this flap here is part of page 1 that was trimmed down to use for design on this page. So I just wanted to point that out. And here I'm getting to use this beautiful plaid that I love, that I meant to use on page 1 as well. There is, you know, because this is really about experimenting with the book and figuring out how you want to use it. I'm not putting a cut list out. I did not cut down any of the main sized pages, which is 6 by 8. But I didn't put a cut list for this. This is basically the cover sheet removed and cut in half. But you can actually trim it down in a number of ways, so I'm not really putting a cut list together. If you guys decide that you really want to make one just like this, let me know in the comments and I will come back and do a cut list, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Sorry, my voice just took off on me. I'm going to add a little extra glue back here where the paper covers the ribbon, because I want that to really take hold. And I'll do the same thing on this panel when I get to it. My goodness. All right, so this is going to go in here. It's beautiful blue. Pardon me. Goodness. Okay. And then I just did pieces for inside here. You don't have to do that. There's plenty of paper that you can trim down, some coordinating paper to fit and not have to piece it if you don't want to, but I kind of like the way that looked. And I saw a scrapper do this, and I can't remember who, but I think it might have been Scrap Queen. I'm not sure. But she actually used double-side tape on the back. She lines her papers up, puts the double-side tape down, and then trims the piece down to fit, which saves you a ton of time. Now for this, that's what I did, so there's no gap between the two. It's just married right up against it. A lot of times in my other albums where I'm using black, I actually like to see that strip of black between it. So I actually cut these two pieces independently with the intent of having a exposed black cardstock between the two. But in this case, I like the way that turned out, and I think I like it better than having an exposed piece of white between it. The other design, I think, lends itself to black cardstock, but not so much white. So anyways, again, a tip I got from another scrapper, and I'm not sure, but I think it might have been Scrap Queen. I really like what she does. She does some really amazing creative stuff. Okay, and I've designed it so that the gingham is going to be on the outside for both pieces. Lovely, lovely. And the tape helps hold it in place as well. So I'm just looking to make sure that that line is continuous from a design perspective. Your eyes get really drawn to those top lines, more so than this line. So if you're gonna line off anything, I would go off the top. And that is finished. Okay, so now we're going to, on the opposing side, this goes in. Oh, you know what? I don't think I've trimmed paper for this. How about that? Is that true? Did I not plan that? I guess not. So I got these pages in, and this needs to go down as the accompanying page. And then I'm going to have to come back and cover this. I have plenty of paper, but I don't know how I missed trimming something out. But looking at my pile, and I don't have anything in it. But let's go ahead and get this in. Since it is cut down and inked and ready to go. And then I'll come back and put some coordinating paper on that, on this flap, on the large flap. Okay. That looks good. Just gonna burnish that, especially over the waterfall hinge here that's attaching this flap. Just want to make sure that that grabs nicely. All right, and then obviously I still have some work to do here. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, but if I can, I might work in some more of this plaid. I really like it. So for the moment, I'm just gonna go ahead and tie this shut so it's not flapping around. And then I'll come back with my remaining paper and design something here, and then I'll share that with you. In the meantime, we'll move on to page 8, which is another simple flat page. And the reason I've got so many flat pages is because of that, the way it was designed with the fold over flap. You can only use the flap on one side or the other. So if you have a flap on one side, the other side, by definition, is going to be plain. Got all my little paper tags everywhere. Love this paper. I think this is, I love the gingham, but I think this is my second favorite one. This sort of rustic, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess it looks antique. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say. All right, now page 9. Okay, so this is the second half of that page 1 that I took off, cut in half. So it worked for a flap for one page and for this page. This is the main paper. And then these are the ones that go on the flap. So I'm going to get this down first. And I like to get the main mats down because even though I've planned all those other small pieces and decided last night which side was up and which side was down, once I get this in and look at it again in different lights, sometimes I change my mind. That's why I want the main piece down first, because I want everything to coordinate with this. Okay. Pushing down around the magnet, making sure it's got lots and lots of grab. I'm actually running my nail down to make sure it is grabbing. That's the other reason why you want to make sure you've got tape over your entire magnet. All right, so now I've got some design choices, and I believe this is how I designed it last night. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what I did. Yeah, I've got lots of glue on my hand, so I'll go ahead and get the green one in. And I know this one goes here because of the size, right? So these flaps are a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this one down. And I just noticed that there's lots of text on here and it goes in lots of directions, but if I had it to do over again, this is the biggest word and I put it in upside down, so I probably would have turned it over. But I don't think it'll be noticed because there's text running in various directions. Now for this side, that's very obvious, so I don't want to put that in upside down. And I'm trying to remember which side I planned. So it goes like that. And I think I like this on top, so that is what I'm going to do. And there is my text, and it goes this direction. That's in, and then here is my last bit for this page. Did I ink it? Yes, I did. I didn't see any ink on this side, so I wasn't sure if I got it. It's impossible to do it afterwards. You have to ink it before it goes in, or it doesn't happen. This one's a little harder to lay down because of the magnet, so I'm just going to add some glue here so I can slide it a little bit, yeah. Up and down until I get it where I want it. And that's it. Okay. Always check for excess glue because when you close your flap, it's going to glue itself down if you've got anything peeking out from under the mat. Okay, that is done. All right, so now we are on to page 10, which is the last page, with the exception of the page that I skipped here that I'll have to come back to. This is my base, so I'm going to get that in first. And I think I want it oriented this way because I want this gray out from under the flap. So here's my little spiel. Thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate you taking the time to spend with us here at Scrap and Create. If you like, please don't forget to click the like button and then share, subscribe and share. If you subscribe, you'll be notified instantly when we have new content for you to take a look at. And we really appreciate you sharing our channel. And then when you click and shop with us, it goes a long way to helping support this channel in general. Our goal is to keep relevant, exciting content on our YouTube channel, and shopping with us goes a long way to helping support that. So we definitely appreciate it. For all of our non-US fans, I just want to say thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry, but we don't ship out of the United States right now. Paper is so heavy, it's just impossible. to ship outside of the U.S. At any kind of reasonable rate. So I apologize, but we do appreciate you tuning in and taking time to spend with us here at Scrap and Create. For these products and other high quality products, be sure to check out www.scrapandcreate.com. And I kind of blew it on the last one. I didn't put the gingham on the outside for page 1, so I'm going to do it the way I planned it on this page. All the magnets used in this project are the small basic gray magnets. I didn't have any of the larger ones handy, but I bet if you use the larger ones, you wouldn't have to use the extra magnets like I did in the project. And you'll see that on the build tutorial. Because the paper is so thick, I wound up using extra magnets. So I have, in this case, a magnet here, here, and one under here. Where if I had just used the heavier or the bigger, larger magnets, I might not have had to add the third magnet. So it's something to consider, but I didn't have any handy, and I wanted to get this project out. So there you have it. So on this one, I think, yeah, these two are going to go together. I'm just trying to make a decision. I think I want these two to go together on this side. And then this one will go here. And I like the way that looks, yes. Although I like this too. No, I like more of the contrast. So from my perspective, one of my feedbacks for this is very fast. So if you have probably maybe 3 hours, you can knock a mini album out. And that's pretty fast if you're not having to build it from the base up. And also, part of the reason it's so fast is the number of pages, but also because you don't have to build the album itself. So, and you can go a long way with one 8x8 pad, since there's no pockets to fill, which essentially are like adding another page, right? So I think I like it like this. And when I say this, I want those stamps on the outside. I'm just holding it down to make sure it's adhering around that magnet nicely. My last chance to change my mind. I actually like this better, so I'm going to do the gingham. I'm going to add the ink and flip it over. Gingham reminds me of Easter, and Easter is a week from, well, not quite a week away, just around the corner. This would make a nice Easter album. All the soft colors would make a great Easter album. Beautiful. That is the conclusion of the internal pages, with the exception of this one. And I'm going to go away and design this, and I will just share it with you when I come back to do the covers. But I'm going to go ahead and trim something down and get it in. I don't think you guys need to necessarily watch me glue it down. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, this is Daphne from Scrap and Create, and this is my 49 in Market Bold and Beautiful mini album featuring their pre-made mini album, new just this year from Creativation. So like I said, I'll go ahead and finish this page, come back, and then in my last video we'll go over the covers and adding some of the embellishments inside. So thanks everybody for tuning in.